All right, we're back. We're live with another one. Episode 12, Kangz Council, the podcast that is coming at you directly from the future. Yes, everything we say will eventually come true. That being said, we're going to start off with the man whose Pokemon rants last longer than that Pokemon Direct, Despair.
Yo. Not wrong.
Yeah, he's not.
And we got the first person in line to play Overcooked with Game Scent, Follow Your Dreams.
Yeah, that's actually dope.
I mean, yo, that technology seems cool, but then I was, me and Freak were kind of talking in private. I was like, yo, but like, what if you're playing in the game and like you're in somewhere that smells like ass?
You better run, you better get out. So outside, open the window.
Someone today said, what if you're playing Red Dead 2? You're only around horse shit that entire game.
Oh my god.
And animals and shit.
It's immersive.
I don't know if you guys
Real
like
cowboy
people like the
experience.
idea of hanging out and raising animals, but like if you're going there, I don't know, man. There's a smell that you know quite well if you're doing all that, and yeah, I don't want to relive that experience. Even though taking care of the animals is nice.
And then, of course, we got the man who is currently selling his Apple Vision Pro secondhand, but it might be a little bit sticky, Cosmic Kaiser 6.
I don't think I like what you're insinuating, sir. I need that money, all right? I need to go to medieval times so I can listen to the medieval remixes of songs from the past, like Riding Dirty.
And of course, your host selling personal introductions as microtransaction, Freak, Freak 187. All right, boys. We alluded to it before. We can get to it now. That Pokemon Direct.
I skimmed through it. It wasn't really much, to be honest. I do like the little mobile Pokemon TCG. That shit's cool.
That was probably the best thing about that Pokemon presentation.
Yeah, they didn't really show much.
TCG because like it's still pretty. Well, I don't know how popular it is.
Pokemon TCG is pretty popular, like
yeah,
worldwide.
It's pretty popular, right? So like them having a mobile version seems like makes a ton of sense. And not only that, but they could get all these old people to rebuy packs all over again.
Took them long enough. Yu-Gi-Oh! Been ahead of the curve for a long time.
Yeah. So, now they could do something interesting. And plus, 90% of the people never knew how to play the game anyways. Like, I never knew when I was a kid. I was just like, oh, man, I got that Charizard card. I win because I do 125 damage. But yeah. Anyway, you get people to automate that. But other than that, I really did not like the presentation at all. I was hoping they would do something or show something off, and honestly, it was just a lot of mobile games. And they did make an announcement at the end, but it wasn't really. It was like, we're working on the next game, and it's like, oh yeah, no shit.
Yeah, but it kind of alluded to a little bit more than that. Mainly because usually every year or every other year they have a game show, and I feel like they're finally taking a second after I don't want to call it a travesty because it sold a shit ton, but what was it? Scarlet and Violet was, for me personally, kind of a low point. Not because of the game itself. The game is great, but like there's a lot of shit. It's a lazy game, all right? And I feel like it's been has it been 2 years already? Since it came out? Yeah, I think it'll be 2 years, right?
On November 18th, it'll be 2 years.
Yeah. So they're not releasing a Pokemon game this year. I think is a good thing. And the next Pokemon, the game that they announced is a follow-up to Legends, right? Yeah. So that's not even a mainline Pokemon game. So that means that the next mainline Pokemon game is probably going to be 2026 or the end of 2025, which means that they're taking a break. Well, not taking a break, but they're hopefully sitting back and realizing that the last game was a little shit. Power World came out. Yeah, people aren't talking about it right now, but it still showed. What did it sell? Like 25 mil or some shit like that?
25
I don't know.
mil was the last I checked.
So I'm just wondering if they're sitting back and just taking it easy real quick and seeing if they can improve some shit. And that's what I took away from it. They showed a lot of stuff that I guess Pokemon game fans don't care about, but it was a lot of cool stuff for the actual brand itself, if to me, because Pokemon at this point is way more than the games. Like Pokemon is the biggest shit ever, right? They have way more than just games to show. So I liked it for that purpose, but I'm glad they didn't show off anything. They did announce the game at the end. They didn't show anything. They just showed the logo. So
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm just hoping, man. I do feel like that next Pokemon game they're obviously holding for the Switch too, right? I'm pretty sure the Legends game is probably going to launch on both. Because what did they say? They delayed the Switch. Is probably not coming out until like March next year. So
yeah, we didn't report this, but yeah, the rumors are saying that it probably delayed till next March.
So I'm sure that they're planning around that. Yeah, I'm sure they're planning around that. Yeah. But I just hope the next Pokemon game isn't. There hasn't really been a shit Pokemon game. They've just been kind of underwhelming. So I'm kind of hoping that they take a step back and realize that. But it's Game Freak, so you never know.
I mean, the last Pokemon game I really, really enjoyed. Well, not really, really enjoyed, but that I felt like was going in the right direction was Arceus.
Yeah.
But I just felt like even though they took 2 steps forward, they kind of took 3 steps back because they moved forward in like the way you catch Pokemon. Like I thought that was the coolest shit. Like catching Pokemon without actually having a battle. Like I thought that was the coolest part about that game. And you know, the kind of the open world was kind of cool. But then it's like they took away all the other things that like make Pokemon games. It's like I wanted that game combined, and then we thought, you know, Scarlet was gonna be that game, but it wasn't.
It was.
So
no, it was. It was that game. It was just kind of. It was just it was pretty jank. Like you could tell that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say it was ambitious because graphically it doesn't look. The game is not impressive graphically, but it's on the Switch, right? And Game Freak is the best at trying to make trying to put in as little effort for the most like gain, right? So I feel like Game Freak was at a point where they know Pokemon is gonna sell. Pokemon games are gonna sell, so they kind of, I don't know. I could be wrong. Pokemon fans are gonna try to hang me or something, but like they can get away with putting in minimal effort, and the game will still make money for them. So that's kind of why I think Scarlet and Violet wasn't the best, but it was a great game. Like it definitely had the Arceus, the Legends Arceus stuff in it. That's what the main seller was. It was an open world game, quote unquote. It had the same features where you throw your Pokeballs at things and you either catch them or they get mad and you gotta fight them, right? It was the same thing. It was literally the same game, but it just didn't perform well. It was jank as fuck, hella bugs. We all saw the memes when that game came out. But that was pretty much it. I don't know. I feel like they just need to advance that formula a bit. They need to work on that. Because there's no reason why. I want to say it was a new thing for them. That's why they kind of fucked it up the first time. But come on, man. It's not hard to make an open world game, especially nowadays where everyone is doing it. Open world Pokemon game. They proved that they know how to do it. Legends Arceus was great. The open world, the world was cool in Scarlet and Violet. I liked it. Like just running around, running in the random big ass Pokemon that would just one shot you. That shit was great. I thought it was cool. But like I said, it was just underwhelming, man. And I'm the kind of person where performance isn't the most important thing, but it definitely hampers like the experience a bit if it's kind of trash. And it definitely, because I remember the first time I played it, my save file got corrupted. And if my save file ever gets corrupted in the game, I don't play.
Especially with Pokemon.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, if my save file ever gets corrupted in the game, I just stop playing. Maybe I'll go back to it eventually, but I just stop playing because I get demoralized. So that's what happened to me. And that's amongst billions of other glitches that I've seen. So whatever. They just need to work on that, clean that up. And I think that they have a great game on their hands if they just clean that up. That's all it needed. It just needed polish, man. That's all that game needed, to be honest. It was just polish.
Yeah, I think people still liked it. People still wanted
it. Was great.
They were eager for like the DLC when they announced the DLC.
Yeah.
I think it was just more like the Pokemon crowd that was just like, this
next Pokemon game needs another year. Like they need to just please just work on the next game faithfully. Just polish it up, man. Don't release it like crap.
Yeah.
And
they were releasing a Pokemon game every year.
Yeah, they were. And you know, it's not like they really need to make a game right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you can take.
They
that
just doing it to
extra
pay them. They
gear-
just doing it because the money's coming in. Like, why not keep the
Yeah.
money coming in, right? That's the only reason they're doing it.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Well, we'll see, man. I've already kind of spoken my piece about kind of Pokemon fans, and like people are gonna buy the game, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it. Yeah.
That's the best way to like not like if you want to rebel against them and say, hey man, this shit doesn't work for us, you gotta speak with your wallet, right? But people aren't gonna do that. But I mean, that's still what you should do. But you know,
It is, but when does that ever work?
In,
Yeah.
You know, with the tribalism that Pokemon brings.
That's always the argument for everything that could be better, and it never works because people are going to continue to buy things.
Yeah.
I am.
You
like-
need several people like to speak with their wallet.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
It's the same reason why we continue to get a Call of Duty every year, even though
Yep.
people bitch about it.
And I'm gonna buy COD every year too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even about, at this point, it's not even about the quality of the game. If it's complete garbage, yeah, it's gonna be a big deal. But the problem with some of these games is, right, they're not like fundamentally bad. They just need more work. Like you can see the potential in Scarlet and Violet, man. It's like, damn, if they just worked on this a little bit more, polished this up a little bit more, man. That's like COD. COD every year fundamentally it's a good game. It's just the same. For the most part, it's the same. Like COD hasn't changed. It's still a fundamentally like fun game to play, especially when you're playing with friends, right? So you can't really like who's really gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna miss out on having fun. No one's gonna do that. Like, yeah, let me just not have fun this year because this game sucks. Let me stick it to them. Like, no.
Yeah,
not gonna work.
I would, but you know.
Yeah, but one person isn't gonna make it's gonna make a difference.
No, you're right.
What?
So that's why I get mad about it. I'm like you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get mad. I don't bother.
Especially if you're that type of person who complains every day, blah 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 blah. Like you have a huge problem with the game, but you end up buying it anyway. I'm looking at those.
Yeah, most of those people that have but most of the people that have those issues aren't. So you got to understand, most of the people that have those issues are not buying the game. They're sitting on the outside and they're trying to be part of the conversation. Like that's how the internet works nowadays. Most of these people that are out here making these stupid shit and retweeting all this other stuff, they don't play the games. They don't know anything about the game. I remember when Modern Warfare 3 came out last year, I saw so many tweets from people that I know that are like, man, I can't believe it's another COD, man. It's so bad. I was like, these games are so shit. Like, and they don't even play COD. I was like, when's the last time you bought a COD? It was like, yeah, Black Ops 2. So then why are you even like, just shut up? Like, I don't understand. Most of the people that are buying the game are playing the game. They're probably enjoying the game, and they don't go on Twitter and complain about the game. Yeah, there's like they'll complain about like, you know, the things that you should complain about. Balance, bugs. Yeah, like that's stuff you should complain about. It got most of it got fixed, right? So that's not. I don't think that's like a this game is trash kind of thing. I think it's why did you release the game in this state? Fix it, and they fixed it.
Yeah,
most of these,
I just don't think that there's an issue if the games are at least, I guess, mediocre.
Fundamentally
right?
good.
Yeah,
like they're fundamentally
even if they're
fun
mediocre,
games to play.
like it's fine to release a game every year. It's just when the games start to dip below a certain quality standpoint, it's like, well, now you gotta at least like put some effort into it, right? Like you're just farming people at this point.
Yeah. And people are going to be farmed. Like that's just how people are. Like, I don't know. Whatever, man. If something is fun and it's enjoyable and it's not making me like say, yeah, this is a terrible game.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with playing the game. It's just the problem is in terms of like Pokemon, the games are usually good, right? The last Pokemon game that I think was bad was the Diamond and Pearl remakes. I thought those games were legitimately bad. And Diamond and Pearl were like my favorite, or the original ones like my favorite games, and I thought the remakes were actually bad. Those were bad, and those games didn't sell well. So I feel like people know when to not feed into this shit. Most of the time people know. Yeah. But I don't know. It's never gonna work. We can keep saying speak with your wallets. Never gonna work, man. Sorry. Like, I don't even bother anymore. You're not gonna catch me with the FOMO and be like, all my homies playing the game, and I'm the only one not playing it because I want to stick it to somebody. Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm sorry. I'm over that.
Yeah, it'd have to be a really bad game.
Yeah.
And then just some of the other stuff they mentioned, like there's still so many people who still play Pokemon Go. So like that content for them, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
The trading card game, as a resident electronic trading card game player, I'll say like it's interesting, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like right now, like Marvel Snap is still pretty hot. It still makes a lot of money. Hearthstone, of course, is still around. As far as other like Magic the Gathering is still going, so it's like it was only a matter of time before Pokemon had something that they wanted to like put in a mobile standard that's gonna be like quick to play and keep bringing you back to play it. Like they're giving like 2 packs a day every day, right? And a lot of the comments I saw, it just I wouldn't say like it bothered me because I couldn't care less, but it was more so it was like, nothing beats paper cards, right? Like, nothing beats real cards. It's like that's not the point of mobile card games, right? Like that's the thing people don't understand. Like mobile trading card games is just that you don't have to carry your binder or whatever collection of paper cards with you everywhere.
Paper cards will always be better. See, oh my god. That's like the physical copies of games will always be better. Like just
not
shut
even. It's
up.
even worse than that because it's like when people play when people play these games, they sit down and play. Like it's like you have to carry all of the cards that you own as a collection that you're going to play with, and not everybody wants to do that. Sometimes you just want to play where you're sitting on your damn toilet, and you want to play a game, right? Like there's so many games of Marvel Snap that I've played on the toilet, and if I beat you while I was taking a shit, then you suck. But with that being said, like that's the thing. Like electronic card games, it's like, yes, it's pixels, right? So like you're putting money into pixels on the screen, but like do what makes you happy. Like if you want to collect the actual cards, you can do so. This is just a game to be able to play. So if you want to put money into it, sure. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people who play this that are going to be free to play and judge whether or not it's free to play friendly. But right away announcing that it's like, oh, you get 2 packs a day. Right? It's all going to depend on the pull rate and card acquisition and stuff like nerdy stuff like that.
Here's what these games need, bro. Here's what these games need. If for people like that, there needs to be some type of barcode or QR code on a card that you have, or like a pack of cards that you get, and you just scan that into the game. So you own the cards IRL, you have that in the game.
Yeah,
because
I think
I don't see any justification. First, I don't see how you can say. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand the appeal of having physical cards. It's dope, right? Like I still have my Pokemon cards and my binders chilling, right? But I'm not taking them everywhere I go for TCG and stuff like that. I just have them as a collector's thing. But who wouldn't want to play the game mobile? That's gonna make it even more like Pokemon TCG is already big, right? It's not as big as it could be, but it's already like big, right? This just makes it even bigger because some people don't want to deal with no damn cards, physical cards. Like, I don't want to deal with physical cards. I don't want to take my cards out of my binder in pristine condition and carry it everywhere. Like, I'm good on that. But I know people that would. But I don't know, man. I feel like those people are the majority, just like everything else that's physical coming to an end. I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it is.
People underestimate the power of a mobile card game for sure.
People underestimate the convenience.
Yeah.
Like,
and one thing that absolutely speaks to it is the DC released a card game, right?
Yeah.
That game's already dead. It died within like 2 to 3 months or something like that. They had a bunch of content creators promote and everything like that. Ultimately killed it is that they released a PC client only, no mobile version of it. Yep. And they had no balance updates occurring after it release. So dead in the water.
How do you release a card game with no mobile?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can't. You just don't. It's a Doom project at this point in time, especially like an electronic card game. You need to have a mobile one. So I'll be trying this Pokemon game out. I mean, I can't say I'll play it for on the long run, but I'll be playing it.
It translates so well to mobile games. It's like the same. What the? I don't understand. That's really weird. That's weird they wouldn't release a mobile version. But hey, DC doing a whole bunch of weird stuff. WB in general doing a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Yes, they are. Speaking of some weird stuff. Well, I don't know if it's weird. It may be just Nintendo. Nintendo's suing Yuzu.
Oh my god.
Sticking with the Nintendo theme. So they're suing the Yuzu emulator, or the people behind the Yuzu emulator, something like that. I don't know. A lot of people were just saying like, hopefully Nintendo doesn't win. I kind of have to agree with that, but it's like, well, emulators exist. Emulators have existed for a long time, and Nintendo even uses emulators themselves for a large portion of their Nintendo Online games. So I don't know if this suit holds any water for them, but you never know. I feel like they wouldn't do it unless they had some kind of end goal in mind regarding the outcome of the suit.
Trying
right?
to establish a precedent, so when they release,
They're trying to bully people like they always do. They do this all the time.
They do this all the time with the ninjas. Like they have a lot of money to throw around and a lot of power. So, yeah, they definitely do that. Even though the Yuzu emulator people's stance on it is just like, hey, we don't. They do what every other emulator does. We don't condone blah 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 piracy. Blah, blah.
Yeah, they're not the ones providing pirated versions of games and all this other shit, right? They're not the ones doing that. But my issue with this is, I guess I'd have to look more into it, but I kind of feel like Nintendo's legally in their own right. They can do this, right? But my issue is, why wait till now? The only reason they're doing this is because for some reason, I'll never understand why people do this, but people we're in an era where everyone needs clout and needs to post stuff online, right? But I don't understand how millions of people clearly pirated Tears of the Kingdom, right? And everybody was playing that shit like 2 weeks, a month early.
Oh yeah, you mean
when it leaked? Yeah, when it leaked. So that pissed them off, and I'm pretty sure this is a direct response to that. That pissed them off. So my thing is, you should have at least, like, if you were gonna do this, you should have did it earlier. Like, you should have did this as soon as the Yuzu emulator started gaining traction. Everyone, come on, like, yeah,
they should have did it frame one.
If you want to wipe out emulators, do it from the get-go so that we know that you're not doing it just because, oh man, shit, Zelda came out, everyone pirated it. All right, we gonna get them now. Like, nah, you just been around since the Switch dropped. Like, that's bullshit to me. Keep in mind, Yuzu isn't the only emulator. Hello, we have Simu out here emulating Wii U games, but they know the Wii U's dead, right?
Ryujinx.
Yeah, nah, like, yeah, Ryujinx. Yeah, why didn't they go after them? They probably will.
They probably will.
Yeah,
they probably will.
Like,
this is just
remember when the Steam Deck dropped, and one of the screenshots they showed of one of the devs' library had a Yuzu emulator right on that front page.
Yeah, they were basically advertising. Yeah, they were basically advertising them. Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe that's why they're going after Yuzu as opposed to Ryujinx.
They probably know more about Yuzu. Yuzu is the more popular emulator, even though, like, Ryujinx is better. Anyway, yeah, Yuzu is the more popular Switch emulator. So it makes sense, but I don't know, man. Isn't emulation legal? Is it, like, I'm pretty sure it's for educational purposes, it's legal to have an emulator.
Emulation is legal if you also own a copy. Like, there's no problem if you also
but you can't say that.
Of the game.
Yeah, but there's no way to prove that.
Yes, there's no way to prove that unless you actually have your receipt. And
so I feel like emulation for educational purposes is legal. Like, because they're just reverse engineering, basically, right? And figuring out how the thing works. And then they put it out to the public.
It's trial and error.
Yeah, now obviously you're gonna have people that use it to pirate stuff. I mean, come on, bro. Like, anyway, I feel like who doesn't do that? And then the thing is, for me, it's more about preservation than anything, right? Because if you think about it this way, where are you getting Wii U games from? Where are you gonna get Wii U games? Anybody know where you can get Wii U games right now? Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of the Wii U games are on the Switch now, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
But you have games like Xenoblade Chronicles X. Obviously, it's probably going to get ported eventually, but you have games that you don't have access to anymore. Straight up. So, what's their answer to that? Just buy it when we remaster it. Basically, that's their answer. But there's a bunch of stuff that you cannot play right now. There's a bunch of stuff that, like, there's no way to play. So, I don't know, man. I feel like that's villainy to me. Like, this is when Nintendo looks bad. Like, Nintendo does a lot of good, but this is when I'm kind of like, come on, guys, really?
But here's the thing: there's a lot of cases in which people would actually give Nintendo money to.
Yes, that's the biggest
just,
issue,
like
bruh.
I would gladly like.
If
Listen,
Nintendo
bring
Online
one.
wasn't shit,
Yeah.
like, listen, I'd pay monthly.
Yeah, I would.
I'd pay
I would pay
motherfucking
monthly.
weekly. I'd pay an
Yep.
extra $100
For
to have
all the
access to
SNES
GameCube,
games, like,
SNES,
instantly?
SNES
Yeah.
onward. Yeah, I'd have all that shit. I'd pay instantly. But I don't understand, bro. What is? Oh man, it's so weird. Every company does this. PlayStation did this. Xbox is the only one that seems to get it. But just give us access to the old libraries. If you don't, first of all, if you don't want people to pirate, right? You don't want people to emulate whatever. Then just give us the damn games. What is this? First of all, I can see if they gave us a way to play these games, right? And then they went after them. I'd be like, okay, that's fine. They're going after them because they want us to pay for their shit. But we don't have access to it. Like,
No.
now I'm gonna kind of play devil's advocate
You
because
should,
I'm more so for the emulation of older games that we really don't have access to anymore, like older
Right.
consoles, stuff like that. The Switch is very much still like, a current console until next year, most likely, right? So I kind of understand where they're coming from because the Switch is still selling for them. They still want people to buy Switches, right? How many times have we said in here, like, yeah, I'm not gonna buy it on the Switch. I'm just gonna emulate it at 60 FPS, blah blah blah, right? I'm self-reporting, but still, come on, like.
Well, but the thing is, I will still buy those games, but but ultimately, I'm gonna play it where it performs better.
Yeah.
Like,
I bought Bayonetta 3 and I was like, wow, this game runs so good on emulator, but I bought it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy Princess Peach, but I'm definitely gonna emulate it.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna
I don't
buy
know, man.
PlayStation.
I don't know. It's a very slippery slope for stuff like that because I don't know how I don't know the inner workings of how it works legally. I'm not a lawyer.
It's a slippery slope, so that's why I think they're trying to fight this battle. Because the thing is, if you win a case in a certain way, then it establishes precedent, and then then they can use that case to go after other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
think
but what's
that's
gonna
the
stop
play
people
that
from doing these emulators and just like, you know what I'm saying? They went after some of the big websites,
scaring them, bullying them. I mean,
yeah, but some
then
people
the
don't
thing is,
care.
It's gonna end up just being anonymous, right? Like it's just gonna be some sort of anonymous.
This is what big companies do. They'll make a big deal about something. They'll get news about it. The news outlets will report on it. Then a year later, nobody will care anymore, and they'll go right back to putting emulators up and pirating games again. It happens every single time. Like they just try to make us think about it because they got a new console about to come out. Like, so whatever.
Yeah. Well, and that's also the argument of why, like, when you release a new console, it shouldn't be like so current gen. So then it's harder to emulate, right? Because, like for example, we're just now getting PS3 emulation pretty well, but like that took a very long time to get to that point,
I don't know. PS3 emulation has been okay for the past maybe 5 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but it took a while to get to that point. It's not like,
Yeah.
Whereas in comparison,
Yeah,
I
the
thought
Switch was hacked. Yeah, the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very quick. Yeah.
It
was very
quick. I think
fast,
it was
yeah.
like within a year, right? Within a year of the Switch's release, like.
Yeah, but
shit
you
was
got. I
released.
also attribute that to the internet. PS3, that generation really wasn't. People weren't expecting. Yeah, don't get me wrong. People were online and talking about stuff online, but we had people doing things at a much quicker rate than we had in the past, technology-wise. So, I don't know. But the weird thing is, how come we never get Xbox emulators? How come they're always shit?
I don't know.
I wonder what's so hard to emulate about Xboxes.
You would think Microsoft would be the easiest to emulate because it's based off Windows. So.
I don't know. You would think, but it's weird, yeah.
Yeah, but for some reason, even I think old school Xbox is the hardest to emulate, even to this day.
Yeah, OG Xbox is like
crazy.
notoriously hard to emulate. I mean, they always continue
Crazy.
to work on it, and they're still making progress on some games for both PS3, Xbox 360 emulation and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just one of those like points of the generation where also like those games are available and you can get them on Steam, most of them, right? Like. And so it's like,
Yeah.
are you gonna
Some
go through the
people- there's
trouble,
no need
right?
for
Is it
it,
worth the
yeah.
trouble? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Whereas-
the demand's not there for that.
Whereas if you're trying to, like you said, like Wii U, GameCube games, right? Like these are games like if you don't have the hardware, it's not necessarily easy to go back and try and get those things.
Yeah, those guys went crazy to try to get Breath of the Wild running like optimally on Cemu when that shit came out. That shit was that's what drove, like, I feel like that's what drove Cemu and Tears of the Kingdom drove like Yuzu and Ryujinx, all these emulators to just improve drastically because everybody wanted to play those games. So I don't know, man. My thing is, if you gotta complain about people pirating, why don't you make it harder for people to pirate then? Why don't you just fucking do what everyone else does? Add some weird DRM way to not be able to pirate this shit. Like come on, get the hell out of here, man.
Yeah.
They're just making a fuss about it to make a fuss about it.
Always online.
Yeah, they just making a fuss about it to make a fuss about it. You have options. They know what they can do. They just don't want to do it because they don't want to piss people off. Well, make your choice. I don't know, man.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this in about a year. See if the developers of Yuzu paid Nintendo for life.
They always complain, but Nintendo's always the easiest ones to hack, emulate. It's always them first, right out the gate. Always an exploit to find. So whatever. Step your shit up. Don't blame the smart people for finding the exploits. Blame yourselves. Fuck out of here. What the fuck?
Well, speaking of blame going around, there's a lot of blame that's been going around recently with all the firings and game cancellations that have been happening all over. Sony laid off 900, but it's not just Sony. EA also, how many did EA fire? Like 500 people, 600 people, something like that?
I have no idea.
A lot of firings this week.
Yeah.
People are calling it a game crash, the gaming crash of 2024, and it's like, it's not a gaming crash. This is a market thing. This is what's it called? The corporations that want to try and promote profit in the best way possible, which is by firing people, and you have false. It's basically like false and empty profit margins, right? Like it's not. It's not.
This happens all the time.
Yeah. If you
maybe not to the scale, I don't know, but it happens all the time. We just don't know about it.
Yeah, this is a pretty big scale, especially in terms of Sony, and then including the people.
Yeah, but do we know that though?
What?
Do we know that, like, because the only reason why people are going crazy over it is because we know about it now. People are reporting about it every single time it happens now. Like, I'm sure this has happened.
Well, this is a big deal because even the week before we were talking about how Sony was losing $10 billion in sales because. And this just leads credence to that, right? Like,
yeah, but I'm sure this isn't the first time. I just think people are making a big deal about it because it's the internet.
Well, I also think it's just a bigger scale.
It's also the high number is a high number and it's a big scale. And not only that.
Yeah, of course it is because there's more people working on these games now because because they're more expensive to make. And they got to make these teams bigger. So of course, naturally, the numbers of people that have to go is gonna increase. Like, that's just, obviously that sounds soulless, but that's how business is. Like, I don't know. That's why I haven't really been paying attention when people go crazy over the layoffs. Like, I get it. It sucks. It's always going to be shit when people are losing their jobs. But I'm thinking, you have to thinking about it from the top down, right? People are numbers, and it sucks to say, but I don't think it's a crash, mainly because this is why you have layoffs. This is why you have layoffs in the first place, so you make money. Right? So you don't lose as much money as you were losing, maybe. Like, and then you recoup, and then the same cycle happens again. Like, oh, you have a big budget game that you want to work on, you hire people, and then you let them go when it's done. Like, that's how it is, unfortunately. Especially for gaming, it sucks, but that's how it is. Like, so I don't know. I feel like it's hyperbole again. It's just the internet in a vacuum going crazy over things, and it sucks ass. But now that people have an outlet, right, to voice to talk about it, now we're gonna hear about it every time it happens. Now we're gonna know, oh man, some people lost their jobs again. Like, but it's not gonna stop. It's gonna happen again next year, same time next year, and the year after that, it's gonna keep happening. But my thing is, when the games start getting canceled and shit like that, that's when it becomes an issue for me. Yeah. Like when it's just turnover, when it's just just year after year, you get rid of people so you can recoup. Whatever. But when you start having to cancel games because of shit like that, it's like, I don't know, bro. Yeah. Like,
I think that's part of the biggest news update for this week as well, because I think even like a couple weeks ago, Microsoft had laid off several people, right? And then they announce the games in their like developer direct and stuff like that afterward. But like
so it kind of just makes you ignore it. I don't know. Let me not say ignore, but it kind of makes you say, "Oh, okay, they're still doing fine."
Yeah, they're still doing fine. And the same thing with Sony. I think as far as percentage wise, like it's a big number that they filed like 900 people. But I think I saw, right? I think I saw a percentage, and it was like 8% of their staff. And it's like that's pretty outrageous to think like, that many people actually like work for Sony.
Yeah. Well, what was surprising to me about that story was that it wasn't necessarily the number or the percentage, because that kind of falls in line, but like who they laid off. Like they laid off people from Naughty Dog, they laid off people from Insomnia Games, and to me, I kind of feel like, well, yeah, and then
but nobody's immune.
Like, yeah. Well, from those two the thing is, it sucks. Like, for example, if you guys make a game, right, and the game does bad and the game doesn't do well, you know, like your job security is kind of like whatever, right? But, you know, if your game did well and it sold well, you would think, hey, man, I get to keep my job, right? That's the incentive. But, yeah, apparently
no, the people in prominent positions maybe get to keep their job. But we're forgetting that gaming, some of these jobs are not just, game director. You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking, what is the high profile jobs that we all talk about and all know about? It's just a lot of that shit is not that. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of lowbrow like jobs that they just probably overhired. They gotta let them go. Like, they're not gonna let like a motherfucking what's the guy's name? What's Follow's favorite dev's name? What's his name? I always forget his name. Neil Druckmann. They're not gonna let a Neil Druckmann go.
I don't know, man.
Like,
he only says he only has one more left in him.
Yeah, but that's not them letting him go. That's him saying I'm done. Him saying like,
they did close an entire studio though as well. Like the London
Sony closes studios every other month.
Yeah.
Like
London studio closed. They worked on games for a number of years, going back to PS2. They worked on a lot of SingStar stuff.
Didn't PlayStation Studios? Aren't they gone? Not what's it called? Not PlayStation Studios. What's Japan Studios?
Yeah, they've been gone for a bit.
Yeah. So and that was a high profile fucking studio, and they're gone. So it's like Sony's been doing this forever. This stuff doesn't surprise me. That like because I've been I've seen this stuff happen plenty of times, especially on Sony's end. Since the PS4 era, they've been closing down studios that you would think would never close. Like, so I don't know.
For context, Japan Studio was put defunct in 2021, April 1st.
Yeah, that's very recent.
So very recently.
Yeah.
Got merged.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just one of those people where I just think about it statistically. It makes sense. This shit that happens.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
I think that the disappointing aspect of it is that we also received news that a Twisted Metal game that they were working on was canceled.
Yeah, but that was a live service. It was a live service game. Yeah, like they. Come on. Once I heard, I was like, damn, a Twisted Metal game. Then I was like, oh.
But then it was probably a bad idea. It was probably a bad idea because the thing is like with Twisted Metal, I don't even need a AAA game from that game. I need AA.
They do though. It's Sony we're talking about. This is Sony we're talking about. If it's not a AAA game, it's because Twisted Metal is a first party game, right? Like they own that. Like Twisted Metal is still a first party game, and we've seen the direction Sony wants their first party titles to go in. They got to be AAA or bust. Like that's how it's been.
Well, but obviously that model's not working, so they should change it up a little bit. And for something like Twisted Metal, you
is it not working?
A lot of money. I mean, they're not releasing the games quick enough. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, but I don't think that means it's not working.
I think that the games are getting more and more expensive, which is again, goes back to like, well, in order to maximize those profit revenues, you got to let go of some people, right? Like, I think that was the thing. Like, they showed there was a chart basically that was showing off the budget of the games that have most recently came out, and it was going from like 150 mil to 200 mil, going from like Horizon to God of War, and then Spider-Man 2 was like I think a $300 million budget for Spider-Man 2. Like, I mean.
Yeah, so think about it. With games that cost that amount of money to make, in my opinion, they put out a lot. For games that are that expensive, they put out what? Demon's Souls came out, Ratchet and Clank came out, Returnal came out, which Returnal is probably lower budget. Returnal came out. Last of Us 2 doesn't count. That was way before. But they keep remaking these games, so I'm sure that's funneling their money for them, right? what else was there? We had God of War. We had Horizon, right? I don't want to. God of War was on PS4, right? I don't really consider those like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're still first party titles, and
they're still first party titles.
Specific.
Yeah.
They're also the major thing about those games and Spider-Man 2 specifically as well is that these are like single player experiences that people all said that single player experiences don't make money anymore and they're dead.
Exactly.
Right? But these are profitable games.
Keep in mind, I personally think that Sony is still taking a risk by making game. I personally think Ratchet and Clank doing as well as it did was crazy to me because I don't know, man. When PS4 launched, we had nothing. PS5, people say we don't have games. Yeah, because we kind of go longer stretches without games now. I'm not going to say that the PS5 doesn't have games, right? And I don't know, man. I feel like Nintendo's the only company that, just puts out game. To be fair, there was an era where Nintendo wasn't even doing that. Nintendo was just doing that for the Switch. Like
during the Wii U.
Even for the Wii, they weren't doing that. Like, it took how many years between look, I'm sorry, the Wii had a lot of good games, but a lot of the Wii games weren't like AAA, like there was a lot of shovelware bullshit. Like we had Smash, we had Mario Kart Wii, we had then we had one Zelda because one of them was on the GameCube. And what else? We had a bunch of we had Mario parties, we had Mario and Sonic at the fucking Olympics and shit. Like, come on, like Nintendo wasn't really doing that at a certain point too. Or it wasn't until the Switch where they started busting out AAA game after AAA game, and that's only because they consolidated. And a lot of those shit's probably gonna be on a 3DS if they had released a handheld. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Well, to be honest, it was probably a lot of those projects was probably like a Wii U project that they just moved to the Switch.
I feel like a lot of those games would have been 3DS games. I'm sorry. Like, ain't no way you gonna tell me Luigi's Mansion would have been a 3DS game. Fucking all the Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, all that shit would have been 3DS games.
For sure, those.
The Princess Peach game probably would have been like a handheld game, but they just were able to combine those two, and now they have a whole stable of shit that they could just put on one thing, right? So I don't know. I feel like when it comes to Sony, it strikes me as very especially in the direction Sony's been going since the PS4, right? Sony's been trying to focus more on quote unquote Western stuff, whatever, which is kind of weird because a lot of the third party devs a lot of the Japanese first party devs are doing super well now, right? When Sony is going in a different direction. Because I guess Sony's trying to be like this, oh yeah, let's just be a AAA juggernaut. Let's only focus on AAA games. And I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's not. I feel like they're at like a standstill. I feel like they're plateauing. I don't want to say it's not working, and I don't want to say it's working well. I think they're at like a plateau, right? Where it's like, what direction do we want to take? Because was it Sony that said they want to focus more on, something came out where they want to focus more on games that aren't $70, games that are like $40 to $50 that have like I forgot. There was an article that came out. Maybe was it this past week?
I don't know if it was Sony who said that though.
Yeah, it wasn't Sony that said that. I'm sure. I don't know. I swear I saw that, but I feel like that's the direction they kind of need to take, right? Where Nintendo did it, Microsoft does it, where they need to stop focusing on just every once a year having a AAA game come out. They really got to start putting out more like they used to. They got to take risks on more things. So I don't know, man. And for them to do that, they kind of got to lay people off, right? They kind of got to save some money. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't think it's a gaming fucking crash, man. How many times have we said that? They said that shit back in 2011 when everyone was like, man, this is gaming at its worst, man. Everything's a first-person shooter. This is the end of gaming as we know it. And here we are. Like,
people are still...
and I personally think put Sony and put the corporation, put the labels to the side, right? I feel like we're in an era where I'm getting shit that I never thought I'd see again. So I think we're not in a golden era, but we're
definitely back in.
We're way better than we were 5-6 years ago.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. I don't know.
We're getting so many, like, even if they're remakes or whatever, it's a new experience.
It just
for
depends
a new
on
audience,
what you think
right?
is relevant, right? And a lot of, no offense to some of the viewers, or listeners, but a lot of people are just drones, right? A lot of people are just straight up just zombies. They just buy, they'll just eat whatever they're fed, right? They don't look. That's why you always have those people that say, man, there's no games out, man. What's going on? Gaming sucks. There's no games. Meanwhile, there's millions of games out there. You just don't play them because you want to keep feeding into the bullshit that like AAA, this agenda that they push down your throat. Like, yeah, if it's not AAA, if it's not The Last of Us 2, if it's not God of War, it's a trash game. Like, get the fuck out of here. This is the wrong hobby for you, man.
Yeah. Listen to one streamer that only plays Call of Duty.
Like, only Apex, only Warzone, only this. Like, shut up, man. Only 2K. Like, shut up.
Definitely drones or just broke boys, because remember there was a wild stat where it was like 90% of PS5 owners only play Warzone. And it's
True.
Just like they only play Call of Duty and specifically Warzone, and that's free to play, right? Like you don't
but that's
put
a lot
any
of
money
console
into
players.
it.
That's a lot of console players.
Absolutely.
It's always been like that.
But these are players that play FIFA, they play like you mentioned, they play FIFA, they play 2K, they play Warzone.
And I don't want to say
like,
broke boys, because you got to think about it. A lot of these people were buying COD on 360, Xbox One, PS4. Like wasn't COD one of the highest selling things on PS4 as well? There was no Warzone back. Well, there was, but not till the later end.
That was like Blackout. I think.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
And these are people that are potentially buying like
those people sell consoles.
Modern Warfare still sells, right? And they buy
those people sell consoles, man. Just
now
saying.
you can buy a PS5 and you automatically have like a bunch of free to play games. You have Apex.
Those are the people.
Fortnite, you have
Those are the people that give us, the opportunity to have other games. Sure. Like if they're the ones selling the consoles, just look. If you're a drone, keep being a drone. Like it benefits the rest of us. Like I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying that a lot of the drones are the vocal ones on the internet that make it seem like, oh man, there's no games, there's no this, there's no that. I'm like, okay, you keep thinking that, cool. Like keep thinking that. Keep buying consoles, keep buying, COD, keep buying all this other shit. And then when the companies get the money, it'll fund the shit that I want. Like, you know what I'm saying? So whatever, man.
Thanks for the revenue.
It's give and take. Yeah, thanks for it's give and take. Whatever, man. That's just how it is.
Yeah. And then speaking on this, I don't think it's a crash as much as the market normalizing, right? So, because even in the movie industry, it's people are like the budget for movies, especially with the high studios, is always like 300 mil, blah blah blah, and then especially when they don't expect a $1 billion profit from said movies, it's like, yeah, maybe you gotta tater, you gotta.
Well, movies are different because it's a different era for movies, man. Like the movie industry is different because you have adapting to the times for movies is very hard. Like a lot of people don't want to go sit in the movie theater no more. A lot of people are not trying to think about, man, I gotta go see this shit at the, I got that weekend one box office shit. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people don't want to go out and see movies.
Yeah. There's very few movies that would go out and go to the theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially nowadays.
And it wasn't like that. The last
one I did
years
it for
ago.
was Godzilla minus. And I didn't.
Yeah, that was one. I was definitely considering that. Yeah,
I'm glad. I'm glad I did that one though.
Yeah, like there are very few movies like that though that are like, yeah, I have to see that in the movie theater. Like,
yep.
So
I agree.
I don't know, man.
My movie theater is closing down, boys.
Yeah. So I feel like movies is different, right? Video games, I feel like are always gonna be relevant because it's very low barrier to entry. Yeah, you can say $70 is expensive.
Yeah,
but I don't know, man. $70 for more than there's $70 for the amount of stuff that you're getting, and then there's $20 for an IMAX movie ticket or some shit, right? To sit there for 2 hours, like
25. Yeah, and then
that on top of having to pay to drive there, pay for gas.
Yeah,
all that
and
shit.
then the seats are not even comfortable, and then you're paying over $100 for your
like the value. I feel like the value is different when you talk about games, right? So I don't know.
Well, we are seeing a similar trend though. One parallel that's happening in Hollywood, or has been happening in Hollywood, and something that's also happening in games, is having a big budget or having a game be able to attain a game or movie be able to attain a big budget is going with something that's safe, that's going to make money, as opposed to taking chances and risk, as we've talked about in the past, like taking new IPs. Like you're not going to get a big budget for a new IP now. Same thing in Hollywood. They're not going to take a chance on a script that's not going to be considered a franchise or a banger, like that. No, I just think it's more of a trend that's being more parallel, and it's just what's the term I'm looking for? I think it's just being more prevalent now, right? Like I think it's happened, but I think it's continuing to happen and grow now. Like you don't see a lot of chances being taken.
I don't think so, only because it seems like things are gonna seem more that way because there's more people have eyes on it. There's more people playing games nowadays, right? So yeah, to these companies, they're gonna see dollar signs, right? They're gonna be like, oh man, COD sold again. Oh, we gotta make it again next year. That's why we saw Assassin's Creed every single. It got to the point where we saw Assassin's Creed every single year, right? And it basically killed the shit, and they had to take a break and go back to the drawing board, right? And reinvent that shit. So I feel like we've always had that because back in the day, oh shit, Crash Bandicoot 1, they loved it, it sold. Let's make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Like we've always had this. Capcom. Yeah, exactly. It's always been like that. It's just on a bigger scale now because more people, gaming is mainstream. Gaming makes a shit ton of money now. Like that's just how it's. I feel like that's how it's gonna be. Like anything that's popular is gonna that it's gonna happen. They're gonna keep recycling it because people keep eating it, right? It's gonna happen. I don't think that that's a bad thing though, because when they make, I feel like personally, if I was the head of a like PlayStation or some shit, right? And I saw all this money coming in, I'd be like, okay, we got all this money coming in. This is me not trying to be a greedy corporate, whatever. I'd be like, okay, let's take some of that money and let's fund some passion projects. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like Capcom does really well nowadays. Is, oh shit, Monster Hunter sold really well? Wow, look at all this money we're getting from this one game. Let's fund other shit. Let's take a risk on whatever that game is that they announced last summer, right? That we still they haven't really talked about since. Let's take risk on shit. Let's give you guys an Ace Attorney collection, even though we should have been had that shit. Like let's you know what I'm saying? Like let's take our money and let's make Street Fighter 6 the best it could possibly be. Let's make remakes of Resident Evil. Let's do all this shit. So I don't know. I feel like that's a good thing. But when you do it the way Sony does it, it looks bad because Sony, what have we seen from them besides those AAA God of War type games? We haven't really seen much from them, right?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Helldivers was the most recent thing.
Yeah,
that
and
comes to mind because it's a $40 game. And
very few and far between.
Yeah, an absolute banger.
Microsoft had like a lot of. They had Sea of Thieves. They got what's the Hi-Fi Rush. They got a lot of games that aren't like you look at it and you go, yeah, this is a AAA $7 game. They have a few of those. Even Nintendo. But Nintendo's always going to charge you full price. But still, at least they have games, right? So I do get that argument of Sony. It's very few and far between when you have to have Sony take risks. When Sony was the one back in the day taking all the risks. So they kind of
back in Inception. That's why it feels like off, right?
Yeah, even on like PS3, PS4, they were PS4 in the middle of the PS4 gen is when they started they were like, oh yeah, we're back in our. It was like PS3 Sony again, like, oh yeah, we're the best. We have no competition, so we're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's why we have third-party devs, right? That's why we always had third-party devs.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna give us the shit that Sony won't give us. So whatever. I don't know.
Until they start getting affected, and then we got games that are canceled, like that Star Wars game that EA was working on. That was supposed to be a first-person shooter project or something like that. Where they were saying it was a Mandalorian game or something along that line.
That's the one I knew the least about, and I don't think I care about that one. So whatever.
Yeah, well, it's not that I don't care about it, because I think a Mandalorian game would be pretty.
It'll be fire, yeah.
But would said studio execute it to the level that I want it to be, right? And I think Sony probably took a look at the game, was like, nah, cut it. So sometimes games are canceled because the games are ass. Sometimes it's that reason too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or they're too much of a sync, like something like Skull and Bones should have been one of those games maybe that just got cut, right? Like just looking into the story of that game.
I don't think so because they already put so much into it.
Exactly, like I think they just forced it out because they put so much. But it just looking at the history of it's so interesting of what went wrong with Skull and Bones.
Man, that shit makes no sense to me, bro.
That
it makes
game,
no sense.
It doesn't.
Did you hear that Assassin's Creed Black Flag is selling more now because of that game? Did you hear
Yes,
that shit?
yes,
I
and
didn't
the funny
hear.
thing is, like, if you look at like the story of the development, is that they started firing experienced devs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They started firing these experienced devs that were working on the team and hiring inexperienced devs, and the development in the game just got progressively worse because they had to rework on
comment.
it because of textures being outdated, and then it got worse
Wow.
because you have less and less experience. It's a very interesting topic on why Skull and Bones failed.
Yeah, that game wasn't just a wind tunnel.
I might have to
just-
link the
yeah.
video in the description. It's one of the Digital Foundry videos.
So
I think.
so you're telling me they did the whole, well, yeah, we could pay you a fucking $100,000, or we could just hire 2 interns for like 20 grand to do your
Yeah,
job. And
That sounds like something Ubisoft would do.
Yeah, that sounds like a Ubisoft play for sure.
But,
But to be
to
fair,
their credit,
it's
I heard
not
the game
just
is good.
them.
yeah, and I heard the game is good, so whatever. Yeah. That's just one of those games that I feel like, man, that shit should have came out 10 years ago.
Not only that, but like, if you're gonna look, if you have all that budget, bro, I want to be able to board a fucking pirate ship. I'm sorry.
The fact that the Black Flag is selling more though, is hilarious to me. Cause it's like, damn.
Well, you know, it could probably just lead to them re-releasing Black Flag because
They already announced that they're remaking the game.
Yeah.
nice.
So I don't see what the point. They should have just bundled in all this extra shit that Skull and Bones has into that game. Just improve the naval combat in that game, and they would have been it. I don't know.
It's an interesting trend to see games that have been developed over 9 years ago at this point still hold up and be better than games that are releasing now.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag players rise 200% upon Skull and Bones release.
And it was
Wow.
it was the same thing with Batman Arkham Knight after Suicide Squad release.
Yeah, but that's different because Suicide Squad was ass. Batman just looks like a better game, so why wouldn't you? Like, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of people, like the Skull and Bones shit, a lot of people heard, like, oh yeah, this is based off of the Black Flag naval combat, blah blah blah. And you know, the rising tide raises all ships kind of thing. So like, I don't know, man. Suicide Squad to me was like, yeah, this game sucks. Look at this better game. Look at this older, better game. That's how I saw that. I don't know.
But I think like
Yes.
it's just like people just wanted Black Flag 2, and they were just so
Yeah.
against releasing Black Flag 2, and they wanted it to be something. And now you just, God.
Well, that was, to be fair, that was the main selling point of Skull and Bones, because everyone loved the naval combat in Black Flag, and they kind of wanted it as its own separate thing. That's what Skull and Bones was. It just took 80 years to come out. That's the crazy shit.
Oh man, but yeah,
Which I don't understand, because for me, if I didn't come out, if I made a game that is basically like I don't want to say DLC, but the naval combat in Black Flag heavily inspired that game. That's why they made it. They even said that when they announced it a decade ago. If the game wasn't panning out, if the development wasn't panning out, right, and that era is over, I would have just said fuck it. Just scrap the game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would just scrap the game.
Like we all know they say they're working on Beyond Good and Evil 2, but come on, bro, they canceled that shit, right?
They
Like,
did.
Well, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is different because Beyond Good and Evil 2 doesn't have like there's no, like, what is that attached to? Do you know what I mean? Like, Beyond Good and Evil, they can release that whenever. Like, they can release that game 10 years from now, and it'll be like, oh, this new game looks cool, right?
Yeah.
So, but the Skull and Bones is directly attached. Like, the main reason that game even existed is because of Black Flag, right?
Yeah.
The hype of Black Flag. So I'm sure it did well, right? Because it's still a pirate game at the end of the day, right? I'm sure it did well. The concept is cool,
Yeah.
but back maybe like what 6 years ago, I would have been like, did we really? I'm sure they actually went through this already, right? They were probably considering not even making the game, right? I'm sure they were at some point. I personally would have been like scrap, because and the reason I say that it's not comparable to Beyond Good and Evil, because first of all, the first Beyond Good and Evil wasn't that popular in the first place, right? You know what I mean? It wasn't that popular of a game. It was just like a cult classic game.
It's
I
a
love
cult
the game.
following.
Like, yeah. So they can get away with just delaying that game till the end of fucking time, and it can come out like when I'm old and gray, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think they showed like a CGI trailer, which could have been made like the week before they presented it, and there's been nothing that's been worked on for that game, so it's easier for them to not announce it being canceled.
Kingdom Hearts 3 says hello.
Done. Yeah,
like Kingdom Hearts 3, they released the trailer and actually was not the game, and we ended up getting the game 3 years later. Like, fuck out of here. 4 years later,
Cyberpunk's initial trailer was. It was basically like concept trailers that they're releasing. Rainbow Six Siege, right? The list goes on and on with so many games. Watch Dogs. The game. Remember that game in the PS3 conference that was called like 8 Days, where it was. Yeah,
what was that game? What was that game? That PS3 game, Agent or something like that. Was that what it was called? Remember that game?
Oh man, I really wanted to play that one.
Damn.
There's so many games that it's like,
bro. I want a spy game.
Yeah, it was like a stealth. Yeah, it was like a Rockstar stealth game or something. Yeah.
Yep. So many games.
Like it's supposed to be like Hitman. Damn, that would have been godlike.
All gone the wayside. Will we see them maybe at some point down the line if they get picked up again for whatever reason? It's less likely that a property like Star Wars gets something when a project like that is canceled. They might reuse the assets into something else. Yeah, I
think that's big because Star Wars is money. Like, even if the game ended up being mediocre, it still would have sold pretty well, I'm pretty sure. Right?
Someone must have seen something about that game, and that's where they decided to maybe target where the losses of the team was, and it's just like, well, let's just cancel this project.
And maybe it wasn't just that. Maybe it wasn't far along. Maybe it wasn't
far along. Yeah. Maybe they had just started concept.
Maybe it wasn't good enough. Yeah. I mean, it could always just be that.
And they made sure to say like, hey guys, we're canceling the Star Wars game, but not the one that you guys like and want, with because they announced that they're working on the third iteration of Jedi Survivor Series, right?
Like, but without fixing the second one, great.
Yeah, without fixing the second one, fantastic, right? But they're like, yeah, guys, like we're still working on this one. Also, there's that Star Wars Outlaws game that's coming out, but that's not EA, right?
That's Ubisoft, yeah.
That's Ubisoft, right? Like, so
yeah, that looks cool. I'm not gonna lie.
This like Lucas Arts is potentially making its resurgence because you got the Battlefront collection coming out as well. Like you got some good Star Wars games down the pipeline, so it's like maybe it's not a huge loss about this game.
Yeah. Oh shit! So, I forgot who it was. I think was I in a Discord chat? I don't remember who it was, but they were like, "Yo, we should get a Star Wars like Jedi game." That's like just like a 1v1 duel type of game. That's like For Honor. And I was like, at first I was like, wait a minute. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh shit, that would actually be insane. What? Like For Honor? Like, bro.
So basically, Star Wars Episode 3, the video game multiplayer.
I don't remember. I never played that shit. But
no, if you never played that game, honestly, I would check it out. It's one of the better Star Wars games, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but I was like, wow, that's actually that would be fucking dope. For Honor, like an arena kind of like Jedi fucking shit. That would be dope, bro.
Look,
Force pushing people off cliffs.
Yeah, like, dude, there's literally no reason. This is what gets me all depressed, bro, because Star Wars is such a good franchise with a ton of potential, and it's just not thriving at all, bro. And it kills me because I'm like such a big fan of it. I'm like, I would eat all that shit up, like eat all those games up, especially a game like that. Sign me up. But
any series, any IP with the fandom nowadays is very hard to please, right? And then when you start like, I don't know, it's so weird because I personally, outside of the movies, I think Star Wars, like the IP is it really doing bad?
No.
Yes.
No.
I don't think the IP as a whole is doing bad. The only thing I heard bad about Star Wars is the movies, the last 3 movies.
I mean, the movies is a big part of the shit.
The quality,
their merchandise is a big part of.
Yeah, the quality of content that's being released is questionable in that regard, as far as like the fan base. But as far as the strength of the franchise as a whole, it's very profitable. They got the what is it called? The section of Disneyland, right, or something like what's it called? Oh God,
I have no idea.
Why am I blanking out on this now?
Star Wars.
Yeah, well, they have a whole section of where it's all Star Wars.
And didn't the movies make hella money anyway? Like, okay, let's not talk about the quality.
They always make money, like, regardless of critical.
I'm not talking about the quality.
Like Galaxy's Edge, Walt Disney Galaxy's Edge. They have that whole section. They have a Star Wars cruise line that's serving $5,000 cocktails on the menu. You have all of the toys and resurgence.
Remember, they had to close down that hotel, by the way.
Yeah.
That Star Wars hotel. That shit did not work.
They have a resurgence of franchises with Disney Plus continuing to release new cartoons, The Bad Batch, Young Jedi, all kinds of stuff like that. You still got movie projects that they're working on and releasing and talking about comics and things that they're releasing as far as the Old Republic. The franchise is healthy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, there's no reason that a Star Wars game should be bad, bro. Like, that's the thing. Like, no Star Wars game should be bad.
Well,
yet they still come out.
There's no reason anything should be bad, but there's things are still bad. Like,
true.
So I don't know. Like, all it takes is one bad idea, right, and a sea of good ones to make a game bad. Yeah. So I don't know. And that is true though, because video games lend themselves to sci-fi. I look, I love all types of games, fantasy, whatever. But video games, it just something about sci-fi just lends itself to video games. You know what I mean? So I don't know how you could fuck up a Star Wars game, but they haven't fucked up a Star Wars game.
There's been a lot of like bad Star Wars games in the past, of course.
In the past, but I mean more recently,
even
in the past decade.
There have been Star Wars games, right?
In the past decade?
There's been some.
Like what?
There's been a resurgence.
I don't see a lot of them.
So many.
There's been a resurgence now because of the Jedi Survivor, right? Like that series.
Yeah, but I'm talking the past 10 years. That's within the past 10 years.
Quality control on games have been a lot tighter because of all like the shovelware type of games that they started dropping out. And I think maybe this Star Wars game was part of that. Maybe it was part of like maybe it didn't meet quality, right? And they're just like, yeah, maybe this game's not far along enough. We don't see like what we see, so we're dropping that. They also made sure to reiterate that Knights of the Old Republic is still being developed, the remake. What's going on with that Quantum Dream Star Wars game?
Don't care.
I know we don't care.
You guys let me know.
You know,
when
like,
you find out.
How come that wasn't canceled? I'm sorry.
Because they decided, why don't we just make this a movie instead?
I'm sorry. That's bad. I shouldn't have wished that game be canceled. I don't want any games to be canceled.
I don't want it to be canceled because it'll probably be good, but that's just not what I care about. That's not what I want from Star Wars, but it'll probably be a good game. I'm trying to see what there haven't really been that many Star Wars games in the past decade.
No. I'm telling you, ever since they closed down, because they had closed down LucasArts.
So most of it just were good. We got Lego Star Wars shit, which was dope. Like we got that Squadrons game, which I heard wasn't bad. But we get Battlefront 1 and 2, which weren't objectively bad games. We got Jedi Survivor. I'm trying, like, what else did we get? We haven't gotten
a lot of negative press around Battlefront 2.
Negative press doesn't mean bad game though.
No, but initial
release, that initial release was kind of
it tanked the game and the popularity.
It did so bad that EA had to change the entire game, right?
Yeah.
So, then when they made those changes, then people were like, right? But
like I think it went like from like pre-orders, like they had a lot of good pre-order bonuses. I could be wrong about this. I mean, it could be like misremembering. I think they had a lot of good like pre-order sales.
Most of the Star Wars games came out in the 2000s.
Dropped. Yeah.
And then a lot of those were bad.
Yeah.
But in the past 10 years, nah, not really. They haven't really been bad Star Wars.
Yeah, because they've been very careful, I guess, with what they release, right? So now I think with the success of Jedi Survivor, they're starting to branch out more.
I remember 2000s. There was a Star Wars game like every fucking other month.
Yeah, every year. Every other year.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I said the same thing about every franchise that I love. I'm like, man, why don't they just do this? Why don't they just do that? And then I finally get a game like FF7 Rebirth, and I'm like, oh wow, this is the game that they've been wanting to make for the past 10 years. Yeah. Like,
well, I do like the idea of a Jedi For Honor style game. That would
be fire.
No, that'd be sick, bro.
Disney, LucasArts, whoever, give us a call. We got some ideas, right?
Right.
Hopefully, these games won't get canceled. You know, it won't be getting canceled. This podcast.
Oh man,
check it out every week. TikTok,
I'm about to cancel some of you guys in the comments.
YouTube,
That's what I'm gonna do.
You guys are good. You guys are some real fuckers. You guys just gotta do some research, man. Yeah, do some research.
I also love shitting on you.
and open your minds. Free your minds.
You don't even gotta open your mind. Just fucking use Google, bro. Everybody, just Google shit before you open your mouth. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna end it on that, bro. That's the last thing I'm gonna say.
And that's going to do it for today. But make sure you guys check us out on YouTube. Make sure you leave those comments. Leave those hot comments. Let us know what you think. Leave comments on YouTube, TikTok. We're everywhere. We're on iTunes, Spotify. Go check us out.
Yeah, just don't let me see him.
Tune in every week. Don't let this person see him because he's going to go off on you. But I'll see him. I might leave a nice heart, a like. But make sure you leave a like on us. And we'll check you guys out next week.